Good morning and welcome back. This is my second day live streaming. So, alas, I'm not a virgin anymore. But on the upside, maybe I'll get better at this. Who am I? What's the show? It is, the way I describe my show is as a, let's see, how do I describe my show? Let me read the description of my show. Hold on one second. Nope. What did I just do? I'm streaming. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm streaming. I'm sorry. No. It's Law of Attraction meets Unified Physics. Who am I is a stream of consciousness discussion of reality. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where are we going? What is source energy? How can a better understanding of ourselves and source energy solve the problems of humanity, free us from fossil fuels, from gravity, and help us create an abundant future for all of us here on planet Earth? It's a discussion combining unified physics, law of attraction, and human psychology, all from a, quote, layman's perspective. Now that is my mission statement, if you will. That is what this discussion is supposed to be. And it just depends on my ability to make contact with this topic. So who am I? Who am I and what do we know about this? There's a lot that we know. There's other stuff we can piece together. All of us can put this together so that generally we all kind of understand where we came from, what our story is, how our biotechnology works from within and without, how this matrix works, this field of reality that we are embedded in, this quantum field. And how does a better understanding of all of that? Now, I always say free us from fossil fuels, and I've had a little bit of pushback on that one from a troll, it's true, but the fact is you could say we could add a better, stronger, cleaner, more amazing energy source to the human equation. So it sounds like an addition problem, not a subtraction problem. Like it's all about getting rid of that nasty fossil fuel. Well, the fossil fuel, its time is gone. It has brought us to where we are. Bless it, but it's time for it to go. And the people that it keeps in power and the kind of centralized power between us that it implies is a thing we need to get rid of and hand free, clean energy into the hands of every human being on planet Earth that wants it, that needs it, that has an idea of something delightful to use it for. Whether it's to grow an orchard or to run an eatery or a bed and breakfast or a transportation a boat taxi or so many ideas, so many fabulous ideas about how to build a really wonderful, blessed earth. Now I realize that I appear to be talking not in touch with the actual realities on the ground that we have. Oh, that doesn't sound like the world we've got. No, it doesn't, does it? But there's a lot of elements of the world that we've got right now that we love, that we can. So, what is my discussion? Let's start back at the beginning. Who am I? Where did I come from? Well, I think that we are genetically modified at least. Bashar tells us that we actually have some alien genetics in us too. It's not just that we have been genetically modified, although I think that you can you can pretty clearly see a place in our genetics where it very much looks like we have been genetically modified. So that's interesting. But that's, you know, I don't want this discussion to be too clinical. Although it is matter of fact. The who are we that we are and how it works, how the energies flow and function, how your psyche is designed, how your inner spirit, your broader perspective is feeding information to your individual self, and how you are reading it is determining how your life's path is going. We're going to talk about the meaning of your positive and negative emotions. Now, Abraham brings it from a pretty simplistic direction and holds it right there. And there's nothing really wrong with that, because you can get really, really good at the basic fundamental structure that she talks about. Now, I listened to a Bashar this morning while I was taking a shower at 4:30, and because I didn't want to get into other things that would put my head out of my headspace that I need to do this show, the Who Am I show. So I listened to a Bashar. That's what I did. And it was actually a very cool one. He was talking about the lenses through which we view our world. And there are 4 lenses, and I really liked this. I'm going to try to explain it to you. It'll help me understand what I heard to try to explain these 4 lenses. They're archetypes is basically what they are. But these 4 lenses, you look through they're the main archetypal lenses, and they are male and female, positive and negative. And you're either looking through one or the other, or the other. Now the positive, no, actually he said the negative first, so we're going to talk about the negative first. The negative father is the critical voice in your head, the one that's telling you all the time that you're not doing well enough. It is the archetype of the critical father. Is that what he called it? Is it the critical father? It's the critic, for sure. It's the critic. It may not be critical father. It's the critic, though. It's the one that it nags you incessantly, that's always nipping at your heels, telling you that. Then the negative female archetype is the seducer, the siren, the whore of Babylon, the deceiver, the whatever, that one. And then the positive of the father, of the positive lens of the male-female. So the positive male is the loving father, and the positive female is the nurturing, loving mother, and that guide the child to help find their balance and find their way in this world. And those are the 4 lenses that you are looking that, and depending on. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. I need to examine that more. I need to listen to it more before I really try to teach it to somebody else. But it was interesting, and I'm going to pass that on to my daughter because she loves stuff like this, archetypes, and there's other words to that effect that she also likes. But anyway. So who am I? And why am I even having this discussion? Is it purely philosophical? Is it purely spinning moon dust? No. No, it is not. Because what I want to get out, the message that I want to get out, and I'm not pushing back against anybody, so nobody in the industry come after me and try to murder me for this. But quite frankly, I would like to get the word out that over unity is possible. Over unity is possible. What is over unity? Over unity devices are devices that put out more energy than they take to run. Now, if you've been conventionally educated, this seems like a falsehood. It seems like a fallacy, like an impossibility. Oh, you can't do that because one of the first laws of physics is that you can't just create energy out of nothing, right? You can't just create energy that wasn't there already. You can't do that. Well, the fact of the matter is that there is nowhere in the universe where there is not already almost unlimited energy there. And we're starting to realize that. We're starting to realize the nature of this divine matrix that we find ourselves swimming in, embedded in, working with, creating ourselves with. We need to understand it better. How does it work? So I say that I claim that over unity is possible. And right here, I would advise you to go watch a movie, and they have a YouTube version of it. It's totally free, called The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. It's all about a documentary all about the history of over unity devices and extraterrestrial contact too. There's some of that thrown in, and how the keeping one a secret has something to do with the other, because frankly, extraterrestrials, they're not keeping it a secret in order to, keep the public from panicking, from War of the Worlds kind of stuff, or, anything like that. They keep it secret because they demonstrate quite clearly some alternate form of energy source and some other understanding of gravity other than what we claim. And if they were just hanging around in front of us and everybody openly talking, the next thing you know, we'd start realizing that and want to claim it for ourselves. Now, I believe that we can claim gravity control and free clean energy for ourselves, but the ticket it's going to take to get these things for humanity is we're going to have to know who we are. We're going to have to understand ourselves as a peaceful, connected aspect of the biofield that needs to play nice with each other and ourselves and the rest of the field. And until we get to that point, we're not safe with free, clean energy absolutely as much as you could possibly use anywhere for anyone, no matter how crazy they are or armed to the teeth. We do need to understand who we are and how this works so that we can have our clean, free energy future, so that we can have our gravity control future where our vehicles come up off the surface of the planet. What I absolutely do not want, there's one of two things I do not want. I don't want the Democrats and the Republicans to come together and approve a $10 trillion or $1 trillion or any kind of really deeply vested 20th century infrastructure program. I don't want them to do that. Redo the airports, rebuild those bridges. Let's put in, electric vehicle charging stations everywhere. I don't want any of that. That's not what I want. I want us to put our energy into the technology of tomorrow, not the technology of today. Right now, it's just the technology of today that they are amplifying, and I want us to find the technology of tomorrow. The second thing I don't want is I don't want a dictator to say, you know what, I'm going to sweep aside all of this petty squabbling amongst the factions, and I'm just going to say, let's do an infrastructure project, and I'm going to give it to that friend and that friend and that friend, and by the way, let's go drill in the Songus wilderness up in Alaska. Let's, double down on all the refineries. Let me stamp an approval on all the new oil pipelines. I don't want that to happen either. So what do we do about this? How do we, well, I don't know what to do about it collectively. I do know where an individual starts individually. And it starts with understanding your own personal psychological equipment. Who am I? Who am I, and who is my negative self? That's a very interesting question. It relates, of course, to the question, who am I? Because my negative self is part of who I am. But how do you explain what your negative self is, what kind of energies it, the consequence of acting from it are? I've got a lot of things that I talk about myself. Now, a lot of my teachers, they don't talk about some of the things that I talk about. We all have our own spin on it. After all, isn't Eckhart Tolle the only one who actually calls it a pain body? But he's not wrong about it seeming to have a kind of energy of its own. It has a sort of a shadow echo energy of your positive self pulling you in a different direction. It's kind of an interesting thing. We're going to talk about that throughout the days. I don't know how much I'll talk about it today. Today I've been talking about over unity, and I think I should talk about that a little bit more because it's the practical side of how we're going to fix our problems collectively on planet Earth. Now, individually, this understanding can help you with your own individual problems, like, attracting a truly supportive, co-creative partner to, help you with the physical challenges of this amazing physical experience we're having. Maybe you're having problems with that. Well, understanding who you are can help you be a nicer person. But not just nice, being like good, the pleaser. I'm not talking about pleasing kind of nice. I'm talking about in true alignment with yourself and a flowing of compassion and kindness and support and loving energy that comes from that alignment. That's the kind of nicer that I'm talking about. And from that position, you can attract truly amazing, wonderful relationships of all sorts. Relationships of all the sorts that you need. People to help you teach your children. People to help you grow your garden. People to help you take your produce to market. People to help you find the right vacation, everything that you need and want. If you get clear so that you really know this is what I want and I'm feeling very strong impulses in this physical direction, and as a matter of fact, you can't even hold me back anymore because I'm going there. It just feels so right. That's kind of where we're headed on this. So, how do I think that over unity is going to save us? Well, and gravity control. It's kind of both of them. Us understanding source energy and gravity control. How is this going to save us? Well, let's look at the big problems that we have on planet Earth. What are they? And what is the source of the conflict everywhere? What is the problem? At the source of these problems that I'm going to list? So we have problems like sixth mass extinction. Now that's 3 words that say a monumental global horror going on around planet Earth. Ecological disasters and tragedies everywhere involving beings that are non-human, some human beings and non-human beings, ecologic disaster, sixth mass extinction, cutting the threads of diversity on this planet. It's horrible, horrible. That's one. Global warming, which is actually more like global climate change, but horribly exacerbated by human behavior on the one hand, and also exacerbated by our inflexibility to be able to deal with it. So instead of just being ourselves, honestly seeing for the truth what the problem is, and then moving into, easy adjustment, we sit rigidly in the behaviors that we always do, the methods of manufacturing and the methods of all the transport, all the things that we do. We just keep by rote doing the same thing even though it's not working. Well, we've got some ideas about how to fix all of this. Actually, I haven't finished the list. There's war. We keep fighting wars, and wars are not good things. Desertification, the growing deserts. That's a phenomenon caused by people who don't have access to any outside source of energy at all, be it, solar or wind or fossil fuel or anything. And in order to be able to cook their food, because they can't just eat raw antelope and, whatever all the time, in order to cook their food, they have to find biological material, and they might live in a very dry and an arid area where things have a hard time growing in the first place. And they're cutting down what little grows in order to cook their food. They don't really have any other choice, and the desert grows. Well, we could fix that too, because let's see what else. Well, I'll get into that in a second. You'll see how all of these things will be fixed from this one position, this one understanding. Who am I, and how does source energy work? And what is over unity? And what is the true source of gravity? When we get to the bottom of all of those, we're going to be amazed. Now, I haven't looked at the chat, so if you are chatting, I don't even know if anybody's listening. Perhaps nobody is listening. They probably are not listening. I don't even know if I'm really streaming. I do that. Okay, I see. Where am I? Where am I? There's my live stream. Welcome to live chat. Do I have any listeners? I do not have any views. Well, that's all right. It happens to be Saturday morning, which is... Oh, wait a minute. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Current keyframes are not... Average view 22. Concurrent viewers. Wait a minute. I don't think I'm live streaming anymore. It's hard to know. It may have stopped at 22 minutes and 35 seconds, which is a funny place for it to stop. Where am I over here? I am 23 minutes and so that... Oh, well, that's weird. So that means it would have just done it. Well, interesting. I don't know. Okay. Well, at the very least, I don't know if my live stream might have stopped, which is unfortunate, But maybe it didn't. No, I think it did, because I can see that it is not ticking down anymore. So forgive me for being distracted, because I am still recording, and I will post this to my YouTube video channel. And so if you are a fan of the show, and I've been doing a good job here talking about stuff, then... Dang it, I thought I was live. I was live. I was live for 23 minutes. And then something stopped me, and I don't know what it was. Dang it, dingity dang, this stinking technology. Actually, I wonder. Hold on a second. I'm going to pause this. pause. Okay, here I am back. So, let's regroup here. I do think I need to figure out how to actually label my live stream, because I don't think I'm doing it right. I need my daughter to come over and so who am I? We're talking over Unity devices today, and I think I'm going to keep talking about over Unity devices, because even though there's nobody live in the chat, I don't think anybody's watching. I'm streaming, but nobody's watching. But that's all right. For now, it's all right. But I do have people that pick it up on the other side on my YouTube channel. And so for that, I'm going to kind of keep it together. I think I'll end at an hour too. So I'm at 48 minutes right now. We're talking over Unity. My idea about over Unity is that the very first thing that should happen is a campaign of consciousness where we all try to get the word out. Hey, did you even know that over Unity is a possible thing? You know, that a device that you can just create a device that'll just put out energy. Did you know that? Did you know you have to keep spending all of your money on energy? No, you don't have to do that. You could spend your money on something else. And quite frankly, it's a good thing that we have a lot of things that you can see as having value. Everything from a practitioner's time to a food stuff to a piece of technology to some form of energy. All of it has value, and human beings have the capability of bringing all forms of value to the human table, to the human banquet. Also, another form of value that has been created in this last century, as in within the last, say, 120 years, and that is media. Everything from started with radio, and then it went on to movies. It moved on to television. The next thing you know, we are internet. You can record and broadcast, and all of these things have equated into there's actually another way of making money, and that is attract attention. Get eyes looking at you. You are entertainment. Your life is now, people are looking at it. You're interesting. It's part of the human value system. And so now what we need to do is, as we raise our children, we raise them seeing this whole thing as, see themselves as being worthy and having worth innately. We all have value. We all have worth. If you're here, you've got value. If you're here, you have worth. Period. Full stop. Oh, wow. Huh. Now that's very strange. My live here on my thing says 51 minutes and my recording says 28. Was I on a pause on my recording while not being on a pause on my live at some point? Wow, I've got bugs to iron out. I gotta figure out, I gotta make sure that I don't get lost in any of this. I've been live for 51 minutes, but my recording's only 29 minutes. I wonder if I have two recordings going on. A shorter one and then another one. I don't know. Or whether I just paused in there thinking I was recording while... I don't know. So as I was saying, I think the first step is for us to get the word out that over Unity is possible. And that will get people's minds thinking about how to do it. Research, study, how it's been done before. What do you know about electricity? What do you know about the field? What do you know about whatever, frequencies, energy, frequency, and vibration. As Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand this universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Let me see whether anybody is in the... No views still. Ah, well, yesterday I had some viewers, but it was a weekday and I started a little later. I think I need to curb my impulse to get it over with at 4 o'clock in the morning. And see, it's doing it again. Every time I go over here and look, it changes things. I need to quit doing that. Oh, see? Oh, yeah. How strange. Okay. I'm going to get the hang of this. I will. I think I just paused it I paused the recording, which means my recording's only 30 minutes. My recording is only 30 minutes. So I'm going to pause again. Okay. All right. So what's happened is my streaming, I paused the recording and kept on with the streaming, but nobody's listened to the streaming. So the interesting part is, I wonder what part of my recording I missed, because I got going on some pretty good stuff there. And who knows? My whole show is just talking about who am I? Who am I? And I find that as you ask this question through the day, as it refers to all kinds of different topics and all kinds of different questions and challenges and projects and things, it's a really relevant question. Who am I? How do I really function? How do I get the very, very best outcome possible out of the available what I have to work with? How do I get from where I am, which may have some less, it might not be all of what I want. There might be something that keeps coming at me that's just frustrating the crap out of me, but how do I get more of what I want and less of what I don't want? How do I move from where I am to where I want to go? And where do I want to go? You might say, well, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay right here and be happy. And that's valid too, That's where you want to go. I want to go to here, but happy. How do you do that? Understand who you are. Understand how it works. Understand that when you look at the world from a negative lens and interpret its shape as some sort of negative thing that produces stuff that you don't like, that you're going to get stuff that you don't like. You got to understand the equipment. You got to understand how to drive the vehicle. And what is this vehicle of which I speak? Well, I call it all kinds of things. I call it a starship. It's your starship that you are navigating through you are navigating yourself through the experience of this universe. And what you have total control over is your own spin. Who you are, how you identify, what you move into, what you rendezvous with, what comes back to you, at least vibrationally, you have control over it. Physically, conditionally, you don't have control over it. Keep control of the vibrational reins and let the physics out there take care of themselves. Let the physical of it play out for itself. Don't micromanage the physical. Allow the grid to fill itself out. You pay attention to the vibrational aspect of driving your own vehicle. Pay attention to which state of being are you in? Which lens are you looking at the world through? the negative or the positive. If you are looking through the negative lens, you are getting a bad read. Now, I might even object to my judging it that way, but you know what? Part of me absolutely judges it that way. Do not look through your negative lens. You're going to get a bad reading. You're going to end up in a swamp instead of in the magical land of Lothlorien or whatever. You're going to end up somewhere where you don't want to be. And maybe back before you came to this planet, before you were birthed into this earth, maybe you had an agreement that, hey, I want to take it all the way to the swamp. Because, man, I just want to experience how powerful I am and I can make it out of the swamp. That's what I want to experience. Maybe you made an agreement. But you know what? I don't feel like I did. I feel like what I made an agreement to do was to see it coming farther, way farther out ahead of it. I determined to get way farther out ahead of the storm this time and instead turn it to magic. Turn it to a magical understanding that can spin things into coherence around me, as opposed to living it all the way to the dark Holocaust. It may be that I lived it last century all the way to the dark Holocaust, and so I don't need to do that one again. I completely understand that one, and I see you, Hitler. I see you. I see what you did, and I see what you showed us about who we are, and we all hated you for it. But you know what? On the other side of this, we all shook hands and agreed to this. That's the way Sue Morter would look at it. Dr. Sue Morter, she's got this, one of her ideas, she calls it the bus stop agreement. You know, maybe your determination was to experience a powerful experience of forgiveness and understanding and overwhelming, bring you to your knees comprehension of human frailty, human magnificence, and all of that. And what would it take to get you to an experience like that? Well, you gotta have something stirring up the negative storm over there. You gotta have somebody at the top of... If we are to understand Wetiko disease, if we are to understand authoritarian psychosis, as Carl Jung would have called this same phenomenon, this condition of locking into head disconnected from the heart thinking. That's what Wetiko disease is. That's what authoritarian psychosis is. That's what that's what the Hitler phenomenon, the Nazi thing, but it's a condition that all human beings have some form of potential to experience. This psychosis, it's not just the authoritarian who's got the problem, it's all the people, but it's not just an isolated event, is it? It's half the people are going for the authoritarian candidate. Isn't that interesting? You know, there's quite a bit of momentum over there on that negative side going on. But we need to understand this. We need to understand this and ourselves. Don't judge it. Don't dissociate from it. Own it. Understand it. Heal it. Heal it in your neighbor, in your brother, in yourself. Know that it is a condition that at any given time, human beings, like at any given moment, you can fall back into it. It's your negative self, this Wetiko disease. But, it can get to be a really serious condition where you're locked in over on that side, forever dissociated from your own heart, locked into this win-lose paradigm, having the universe echoing back, reinforcing, supporting you, if you will, in whatever it is that you have chosen to believe. it is supporting you. It is reflecting back to you the truth of all that you believe. But what you don't understand, what you think is, you think, I'm onto something. I'm onto something because I see reflections of this everywhere. The fact is you're going to see reflections of it everywhere no matter which lens you're using. And so the question is, what reflections do you want to see come back? Do you want to see echoes back of all the rightness, of all the evil that you are witnessing and realizing and identifying with and noticing? Do you want to see that come reflected back to you? Or do you want to see reflected back to you the magic of this magnificent existence that we are privileged to be a part of in this moment in time, where this kind of freedom and power, like my power to be able to get on my own personal damn radio station, basically. I can figure out how to connect to the world too. I haven't quite figured it out. I'm just figuring out how to A, speak the message, and B, find the radio station. Where's the on switch? That's about where I am right now. Where's the on switch? But I'll get there. At some point it will be, how do I get, now I can speak. Now I know what I'm saying. Now I know where my radio station is. Now I know where the on switch is. Now I know how to identify it so that other people can tag into it. Other people who are also interested in this same question. This same question of making it to a peaceful, beautiful, abundant, joyful future of sustainability for humanity. That's what my goal is. Joyful sustainability for the species of mankind on planet Earth. Not just some sort of gasping, horrific, we don't deserve to be here in our dystopian, post-apocalyptical, whatever. Not that. I'm talking about finding who we really are. Who we joyfully and beautifully are. The gardeners that we are, and the magicians that we are, and the entertainers that we are, and the host and hostesses that we are. All of these things that we are. Who am I? And who am I in the positive? Who is my positive self? That's also an important thing to understand. Now, I spend most of my time talking about who the negative self is, so that you'll understand that that's not you. So that you'll understand who it really is. That the voice in your head starts out as the neutral observer, the one who's just taking note. This, that, look at that. Here I am. I need a drink of water. Where are my shoes? That kind of thing. You got the neutral observer there at the center. And then you have two lenses, a positive lens and a negative lens. And those positive and negative lenses will take you off on momentum. Oh my gosh, I can see this so clearly. I want to talk to my daughter this morning. She wanted to talk to me last night, but I think that I needed to see this so that I can show her her own interior configuration so that she can use that in order to understand how to navigate her equipment. We all need to understand how to navigate our equipment. And one of my first rules of thumb is, when you're in your negative state, sit on your hands. Do not act. Don't act. Don't speak if you can help it. Don't speak. Don't speak it. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Just sit with it until you find yourself. And then when you find yourself, now speak. But when you're in that negative side, you can find your neutral self and you can speak, or you can find your positive self and you can speak. But when you're in your negative self, don't speak. Don't speak, don't act. Now, sometimes you just have to speak. You have to say it out loud because the part of you needs to hear it. You know, your physical self needs to hear you say something because you're trying to figure out who you are. Who am I? Who am I? You know, since I did pause for such a long time on this recording and I don't really know exactly what I said or didn't say, I paused it while I was live streaming. So my live stream is at 1 hour and 8 minutes, which is ironic because I don't think I have any listeners. And then my recording is 45 minutes. So somewhere in there, I paused the recording and kept the live stream going and didn't realize it. So part of what I said this morning, I don't know what got recorded and what didn't. And so what I'm saying is if I repeat things, forgive me. If it appears like I left something hanging there in the air, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It's just that I'm getting used to this thing I'm doing. And still no watchers in. What is this? 4, 3, 2, 1. Actually, oh, I see. Oh, that's the time of day. Isn't that interesting? It's like I am a little radio station. Anyway, so what is my message of hope for my video listeners? You know, both of you. And I do promise, someday we will get more people in the room with you. You won't have to listen to me all by yourself. My message of hope is there is every reason to hope. If you find within yourself, if you feel like you are here to experience joyful, abundant life, loving, connected, synchronistic life experience, if that's what you feel like you have been called to live on this planet, and you're looking around going, you know what? This doesn't feel right to me. Know that there is hope for us. There is hope for this planet to bring it to the light of abundance, the light of clarity, the light of freedom, the light of joy and fun and relationship and us interacting with one another with our hearts and our heads connected. Because that's what it's going to take. The heart and head disconnected condition is called many, many things. And it's actually the only thing that is ever wrong with a human being. Now, that chronic head-heart disconnect, that's like a pathology. It's like the only pathology. And if we would treat it that way, that's the only pathology, that's the only sin, that's the only evil. And so the answer is we've got to get people to connect themselves back together again, to know themselves to be a whole being, and whole and one with the rest of the field around them. You do that, and all of a sudden they don't act criminally anymore. They don't act crazy anymore. They don't act antisocial. And so it is no longer necessary for you to freaking punish them or get revenge on them or hate them or judge them or blame them or anything. Just understand this energy situation we got going on. How we affect one another, how we are connected, how we are autonomous. You got to understand both of those things because you are both. You are deeply connected and both deeply connected and divinely autonomous. You're probably divinely connected and divinely autonomous. You are both of these things at the same time. It's one of those divine paradox things going on, you know? And so the question here that we ask every day is, who am I in reference to this source energy, in reference to the allness that I am part of, in reference to this energy field I am matrixed with in reference to this field, in reference to everything. Who am I? How about in reference to my life? What am I all about? What am I here for? What am I here for? Am I just passing time, watching television, eating dinners, trying to find things to amuse myself with until finally I get so blind and old and weak that I can't do it anymore? Is that why I'm here? Or am I here for something more meaningful or more interesting or more productive in some way? Am I here to accomplish something more interesting than just passing the time until they put me in the grave? Somehow I feel like I'm here for something more interesting than that. Right now, humanity needs a whole lot of understanding, because I don't think we do understand. Collectively, we don't understand, or we would not have just elected the guy who blames everybody, the one who claims he's going to fix it. Because it doesn't work that way. If it worked that way, that'd be great, and he'd fix it, and it'd all be good. But it doesn't work that way. And so he really got elected to teach us how it works. And then once we understand how it works, then we can just go work it. We don't have to be having this harsh lesson all the time in who we are. These wars, this climate issue, all of the problems that we have with one another, with our families, with our neighbors. I mean, I don't have any specific problems with my neighbors, but metaphorical neighbors, the people who live, in the next town are your neighbors. The criminals who live in the next state are your neighbors, The problems that we have with our neighbors, we have problems with our neighbors. Some of them rob banks. Some of them hijack cars. Some of them, murder you in your homes. Some of them have nothing, and so they want to steal all of your stuff. And the only thing keeping them from doing it is law enforcement. But the only reason that all of that has to be in place is because we don't know who we are. Because if we did know who we are, we would have set our system up different in the first place, so that guy who's robbing the banks actually instead understood who he really was and how to harmoniously be one with the field around him. And now he is an artist or a great chef or something instead of being a bank robber. But he was raised by drug addict parents who themselves did not know who they were. His father beat him. His mother coddled him. They both taught him some wacky, superstitious nonsense when it came to religion or, the who am I and how does my soul work? What's sin and what's the formula for being successful in this life? They may have taught him one thing, but he could see it was gibberish, so he's off on his own, joined a gang. Do you see what I mean? There's no evil people. There is just misunderstanding about who we are and how this works and how incredibly fragile is a human psyche, especially at a young age. And what we have to do to compensate when we have damaged young psyches. But actually, all of that goes to helping us collectively understand who we are, how this works, where we're going, how to be successful, all of that. So pardon me for 1 second. I'm going to just go over and look. It appears that I am still streaming and that there is still nobody watching. I might have nobody watching because I have this error. Please use keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. So I have no idea what that's saying, but I'm going to take a picture of it before I close any of this out so that my daughter can see what I am looking at. Actually, I can even do it as video. Just to see how it's counting down. Can you see how it's counting down? Yes. Okay. All right. This might be keeping me from having any person actually in the space, even though it appears that I am live streaming. I don't know if I'm actually visible from the other side of this. I will iron all of these things out, and it will be marvelous and wonderful. So let me get back to my studio so that if I'm going to jabber to myself, I can at least pause it. All right, here I am. I am back in the studio from my wanderings. What do I want to talk about? Earlier, and I don't know how much of it I cut off, I went off on over unity. And I went off on the problems that mankind faces and the solutions, what the solutions to our problems might be. I don't know how much of that was caught on the video. And then I went off on in another direction with the archetypes and the heart-brain coherence and the Wetiko disease and the nature of the inner being, your vibrational self, We've got to understand this. If we want to make it to the 22nd century in any kind of an abundant, playful, joyful, free kind of way, we've got to know who we are. I'm coming up on an hour, and today I'm going to end it at an hour because, frankly, I've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. And since I did sort of chop myself up, my flow is not as good as I could have been, and so I didn't flow from one topic to the other, to the other, to the other. I suppose I could bring up, the Planck field and understanding this Planck field, specifically these vacuum fluctuations, these quantum oscillators, and how they are either they're just sort of randomly jiggling with one another, or they go into spin, individual spin, and then they start pulling in the coherence of the quanta around them into the same spin, so that it looks like a smooth flowing spin. That's what all of reality is made of. It's either roiling or it's spinning. One of the two things. So if it looks like matter, at the center of anything that looks like matter is a proton. And a proton is a vortex of Planck's spinning. And it's really interesting because the Planck field of every proton, every Planck in the Planck field is reflecting a proton somewhere out in the universe. So the Planck field of every proton is reflecting the information of all the other protons in all of the rest of the universe. That's mathematically what the scalar relationship between the Plancks in a proton and all the protons in all of the universe. And then there's all these Plancks that the whole universe is made up of, and they're either roiling without spinning, and we call that space, or they are spinning, and we call that matter. But the whole field together is spinning together. And then all of the different points are spinning individually, And some of those individual spins are collected with other spins. So you've got a spin. Your spin is a collection of many, 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 many other spins. You can join your spin to other bigger spins. But your personal spin, you have absolute control over your personal spin. That's the one thing you have control over in all of the universe. You don't actually have control over other people. Not unless they give it to you. But through the spin of this, maybe they've given it to you because you're holding the negative thing and they have joined you in resonance with this negative idea that you've got. Interesting. Who am I and how the heck does this all work? We're going to talk about it more tomorrow and the next day and the next day. We're going to be in the habit of live streaming it every day, so be ready for some technical difficulties from time to time, some technical challenges. We will get better and better as the days go by, as the years go by. I promise you, this broadcast station is up and on the air for better or for worse, for good. For good. And I mean that in more ways than one. We're on the air for good. Keep your ears tuned to the future. I did not mean to do that. I was trying to just get control of my mouse, and instead I clicked on a screen. Sorry about that. We didn't change the screen today. Except for just that one. Been all this one the whole time. The good thing about that is when I can do my presentation without visual aids, without slides in back of me, then I can do my speech anywhere. For whatever that's worth. Anyway. It's been great being with you today. I've been with you, even if you haven't been with me. I love you. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, to speaking to you, to sharing my inner being with your inner being. I'm really looking forward to all of that. And so I will be back tomorrow. And until then, as always, may that source be with you, ever, ever with you.